So in this spreadsheet, we have all of our players listed and the point totals that they got for each game. But I want to show you two things that you can do with the spreadsheets. One is called data validation, and I want to show you how you can do that. That's a great way to create drop-down options in each cell, so that when someone goes in and click on it, they have options to choose from, or it restricts what data can be put in there. So if you just want numbers, you can make it so that that cell will only accept numbers, and so on and so forth. So I'm going to show you a couple ways where you could do that. So for example, right here we have all of our players listed here, and in column B it says whether or not they are a starter or if they are if they're on the bench. So I'm going to clear this data out, and if I wanted to, we're going to set a data validation so that there's a drop down menu to choose either starter or bench. So the way I do that is I select my range, which I did here, B2 through B14, and I'm going to select data and then go to validation. It gives me my range that I selected here, and under this one, it gives me some options here where I can list from a range. I can list, write my own list of items, and this is where I can set specific types of data that goes in there. In this case, I'm going to select list of items, and this is where I can type in what I want to appear. So in this case, I want it to say starter, and then the next option I'm going to put comma and say bench. So those are the two things that are available for options in this range. So now when I do that, you'll see here there's a drop down menu, and now the person can either select whether or not the player was a bench player or whether or not they were a starter. And you can go through and do this with each player, but this is just something nice to have whenever you want just certain data to appear in a cell, and you want to make sure that whoever is working in here does not put information, not put the kind of data that you don't want to appear in here. So then another thing I wanted to show you is still within the data validation, but instead of typing in our own list, I want to show you how you can pull in from a different range. So I'm going to erase our players, and you'll see the data here will go away because everything is linked to its formula is linked to whoever is listed here. So don't be too alarmed by that. So I'm going to do the same thing I did over here. I'm going to select my range. This case is going to be A2 to A14, and go to format. Excuse me, data, and then go to validation. And this time I'm going to leave this as list from range. So this is where I can, if I have a range of data that I want to pull in there, then I can just go and select that range. So in this case, I do. It's asking me where's the data. I can go right here. My data is right here where all my players are listed. I can hit OK, and it recognizes that and says that that's fine. When I hit save, I have my drop down options up here. So now when I click on a player, or now when I click on that cell, just that range of players from that list that I just highlighted appears. So those are just some different ways where you can use data validation within your spreadsheets. There is one other thing that I wanted to show you while I was in here, and that's filtering. You can filter your spreadsheet to display certain data if you want to as you're going through it. So that can be very helpful, especially when you combine that with your data validation. The great thing about the data validation is if you set these drop-down menus like I did here, it prevents people from putting the same thing in different ways. So for example, if I was looking for a team, if I was looking for the people to list their favorite team, some people might say Golden State, other people might say Warriors, some people might say Golden State Warriors. All of those are the same team, but because they list it differently, when I try to filter my data to kind of analyze it, it'll show differently, and it'll kind of just make it complicated for me to go through. So having the drop down list, forcing them to select one of the options that I've given them, makes it easier for me when I want to go back and do some analysis of that data. So let me show you real quick how you can filter things. So when I filter, I usually click on my top row because that's where all my categories are going to be. And then over here, there is a filter button. When you click on that, that's going to create drop-down menus up here. And when you click on the drop-down menu for that particular column, you'll have options here. So I can sort this column in an ascending or descending order. I can filter by condition, or I can look at all the items I listed. Now in this column I just have two types of data. I can choose to look at just one. If I just want to look at my starters, I can click OK, and it'll just show me the people who are listed as starters. So think about using this if you want to look at your data, maybe of your males, or if you want to look at it by ethnicity, or if you want to look at it by block. You can kind of do that through here, through your filtering. You can kind of narrow that data down and look at it a little bit more in depth. So that's filtering, and that is the data validation. Very valuable tools whenever you're working in spreadsheets.